Imagine a perfect season, a legendary striker, a midfield maestro and a rock of a goalkeeper, all leading a glorious team to the brink of history. This is Fiorentina in 98-99. They had Batistuta, arguably the most lethal forward on the planet. They had Rui Costa, the perfect number 10, weaving magic in midfield. And they were led by the tactical genius of Giovanni Trapattoni. For months they weren't just winning, they were dominating Italian football. They sat atop Serie A, threatening to snatch the title from the giants of Milan and Rome. But this isn't a story of triumph, it's a tragedy. The dream collapsed in a matter of weeks. They dropped points, saw their lead vanish, and ultimately surrendered the title. But the heartbreak didn't stop there. Their European journey ended with an act of pure madness, a handmade explosive device thrown onto the pitch, leading to immediate disqualification, and they lost the Coppa Italia final. Fiorentina's season is the definitive story of the near miss. How did one team with the talent and the lead end up with nothing? To understand the weight of the 98-99 challenge, we must first appreciate the shoulders on which it stood. The complex and often turbulent history of Fiorentina. The club isn't just a football team, it's an intrinsic part of the identity of Florence, a city synonymous with the Renaissance and artistic genius. Founded in the autumn of 1926, Fiorentina was born from a merger of two Florentine clubs, CS Firenze and PG Libertas, to create a team capable of rivaling the footballing giants of Turin and Milan. Its creation was also inspired by the rediscovery of Calcio Fiorentino, the brutal, ancestral game once played by the Medici family. After a rocky start in the lower leagues, Fiorentina reached Serie A in 1931, the same year that they unveiled their new stadium. With its bold design and monumental scale, it was hailed as a marvel of modern engineering. That same ambition drove the club to sign international talent, including Uruguayan star Pedro Petrone. A respectable fourth-place finish followed, but so did a brief relegation. They quickly bounced back, however, and in 1941, they lifted their first major trophy, the Coppa Italia. In the post-war years, Fiorentina rose to the summit of Italian football, claiming their first title in 55-56. It was a team of legends: goalkeeper Giuliano Sarti, defender Sergio Servato, and the dazzling attacking duo of Giulinho and Miguel Montauri. They finished a commanding 12 points clear of second-place Milan. The following season, they became the first Italian side to reach a European Cup final, facing Alfredo Di Stefano's Real Madrid. A disputed penalty sealed their 2-0 defeat, but their place in history was already written. The success continued into the 1960s with a Coppa Italia and inaugural Cup Winners' Cup in 60-61, where they defeated Rangers. Their second and so far last league title came in 68-69. Written off as outsiders, Fiorentina surged past Milan with a relentless late-season run. The decisive win over Juventus in Turin sealed the crown, with young talents like Giancarlo Antonioni heralding a new era. The decades that followed were a turbulent blend of hope and heartbreak. The Pontello family's ownership in the 1980s brought heavy investment and star power. Players like Francesco Graziani, Araldo Pecci, and Daniel Bertoni. The rivalry with Juventus reached its boiling point in '82, when Fiorentina lost the title on the final day after a controversial Juventus penalty and a disallowed goal. The bitterness from that moment would define generations. Despite reaching the UEFA Cup final in 1990, again against Juventus, the Pontello era ended in chaos. The sale of rising star Roberto Baggio to their greatest rivals Juventus on the day of the final was the ultimate betrayal, sparking riots in Florence. Under the new owners, the Cecchi Gotti family, Fiorentina's fortunes revived. Mario Cecchi Gotti, and later his son, Vittorio, ushered in the era of Gabriel Batistuta, the symbol of modern Fiorentina. Relegation in '93 was a shock, but under Claudio Ranieri, they roared back, lifting the Coppa Italia in '96, and the Supercoppa soon after. By 98-99, with Trapattoni at the helm, Fiorentina stood on the brink once more. poised to turn decades of purple passion into long-awaited vindication. The groundwork for their near-historic 98-99 campaign was meticulously laid, a blend of the Cecchi family's deep-pocketed ambition and the tactical pragmatism of a managerial legend. After the departure of the fiery Alberto Melasani, who delivered UEFA Cup qualification but was criticised for his inconsistency, Vittorio Cecchi turned to one of the most respected coaches in Italian football, Trapattoni. He was a master tactician, a man who'd won multiple titles with Juventus and Inter. He brought instant authority, tactical discipline, and most importantly, a winning mentality. His appointment was a statement of intent. Fiorentina were done with near misses and cup runs. They wanted to challenge for the league title. Trapattoni's strategy was clear: solidify the defence, harness the team's creative brilliance in midfield, and unleash their devastating strike force up front. The success of the season rested on the shoulders of three extraordinary talents, a trio whose performances would become legend in Florence. Gabriel Batistuta was more than a striker, he was a symbol. By 98-99, he was at the height of his powers. His loyalty to the Fiorentina shirt, even through the pain of relegation in 93, had earned him near divine status among the fans. Known for his explosive pace, thunderous shooting, and ability to score from anywhere with either foot, Batistuta was Serie A's most feared striker. His relentless goal-scoring drove Fiorentina's title charge, his trademark strikes leaving goalkeepers helpless. In a league built on defensive mastery, Batistuta was an irresistible force, the difference maker every opponent dreaded. If Batistuta was the executioner, Rui Costa was the architect. Signed from Benfica after the 94 World Cup, he was the quintessential number 10. Intelligent, elegant, and endlessly inventive. Rui Costa dictated games with his vision and precision, threading passes only he could see, and scoring crucial goals himself. His connection with Batistuta bordered on telepathy, a partnership that embodied Fiorentina's fusion of artistry and ruthlessness. Together they were chaos and control in perfect harmony. Completing the trio was a giant in goal, Francesco Toldo, a calm, commanding and utterly reliable presence. Tall, agile and fearless, Toldo excelled in one-on-ones and aerial battles, his reflexes often saving the team when it mattered most. In a season defined by attacking brilliance, he provided the foundation, the vital last line that kept Fiorentina's ambitions alive. His performances earned him international acclaim and a reputation as one of Europe's finest goalkeepers. Around this trio stood a solid supporting cast. In midfield, tireless workers like Stefan Schwarz added steel and balance, while defenders such as Marino Torricelli provided valuable experience. But for all their attacking brilliance, Fiorentina's defence remained their Achilles heel. Toldo was immense, but the backline sometimes faltered. It was inconsistent, vulnerable to counterattacks and set pieces. This structural weakness would prove fatal. The stats told the story. Fiorentina's goals conceded were far higher than Milan or Lazio, and when the title race tightened, that fragility was ruthlessly exposed. They simply couldn't shut the door when it mattered most. The 98-99 season began with cautious optimism, but quickly erupted into a wave of belief. Fiorentina started with intent, winning their first 4 matches, including a stunning 3-1 victory over Milan at San Siro, with both Batistuta and Rui Costa on the scoresheet. Fiorentina's early form was electric. They dominated the opening third of the season, combining attacking flair with a newfound defensive resilience. A 4-0 demolition of Salernitana in October showcased their ruthlessness. A 3-1 win over Inter in November announced them as genuine contenders. Then, in December, Batistuta's goal sealed a 1-0 victory over bitter rivals Juventus, and Florence exploded in celebration. By the halfway mark, Fiorentina led Serie A. They were playing with a blend of Trapattoni's organisation and the free-flowing attacking brilliance of their stars. The dream continued into January, capped by a 3-0 win over Vicenza that reinforced their dominance. But as the season entered its decisive phase, cracks began to show. The title race is a marathon, not a sprint, and in the unforgiving stretch of spring, Fiorentina began to stumble. February brought a warning, a goalless draw with Milan that allowed the rivals to close in. Then came a damaging 1-0 defeat to Udinese, the kind of loss that saps belief. But during the goalless draw with Milan in February, disaster struck. Talisman Batistuta suffered a knee ligament injury, which would keep him out of action for over a month. This injury coincided with Fiorentina's loss of form. The Argentine striker made a miraculous recovery, returning to action the following month, but his absence had cost Fiorentina their title momentum. From that point on, Fiorentina dropped points they couldn't afford to lose. Draws against Roma and Salernitana, and a crushing 4-1 defeat in Venice that exposed their deeper issues. While Fiorentina faltered, Milan and Lazio surged. Zaccaroni's Milan were steady and efficient. Eriksen's Lazio, relentless. The gap began to close, and the pressure became unbearable. April brought the collapse. A 3-0 loss to Bologna and a 2-1 defeat to Juventus. And finally, a 1-1 draw with Lazio that mathematically ended their title hopes. They finished third, a result that secured Champions League qualification, but felt hollow. After leading the league for months, the dream had dissolved. And the difference was clear. Their defensive weakness had cost them everything. The 98-99 season was fought on multiple fronts, and while their league form faded slowly, Fiorentina's cup runs delivered sudden heartbreaks. Their UEFA Cup Winners' Cup campaign promised redemption and ended in tragedy. During the match against Grasshoppers, a fan threw a crude explosive device that detonated near a linesman. Miraculously, there were no serious injuries, but UEFA acted immediately. Despite Fiorentina's win on the pitch, they were expelled from the competition. It was one of the darkest moments in the club's history. A European dream destroyed by one senseless act. The team was blameless, but the punishment stood. The sense of injustice was overwhelming. The Coppa Italia offered another chance at redemption. Fiorentina battled through Padova, Lecce, Atalanta and Bologna to reach the final against Parma. The first leg ended 1-1 in Parma, Batistuta scoring the crucial away goal. But in Florence, the return match finished 2-2, meaning Parma lifted the trophy on away goals. It was another cruel twist, another almost. A league campaign that slipped away. A European Cup run ended by tragedy, and a domestic cup lost on away goals. For all their brilliance, Fiorentina finished the season without a trophy. A collection of near misses that broke the hearts of their supporters. The aftermath of 98-99 was a time of painful reflection. Third place was respectable, but the memory of what slipped away lingered. The season became a lesson in how the smallest margins, a deflection, a decision, a single moment, can define a club's history. In 1999-2000, Fiorentina's domestic form faltered, but in Europe they shone. They beat Arsenal at Wembley, Batistuta the match winner, and stunned Manchester United 2-0 in Florence. Despite those flashes of brilliance, they fell in the second group stage, their European promise fading just as their domestic form did. That campaign marked the end of an era for the ownership. Trapattoni departed, replaced by Faith Tarim, and soon after, Batistuta was sold to Roma, where he finally won the title. But Fiorentina's finances were crumbling. By 2002, their debts had soared to almost 60 million euros. Relegation followed, and in June 2002, the club entered administration and was expelled from Serie B, effectively ceasing to exist as a professional club. Yet Florence refused to let its club die. In August 2002, the team was reborn as Fiorentina Viola. Under new owner, Diego Della Valle, veteran Angelo Di Livio stayed on, a symbol of loyalty and defiance. The club earned promotion at the first attempt, jumping back from Serie 2C to Serie B, and by 2004 reclaimed their historic name, crest, and colours. Fiorentina were back in Serie A. Since then, the club has rebuilt and re-emerged, qualifying regularly for Europe and reaching 2 consecutive UEFA Europa Conference finals. But the title has never returned. The 98-99 season remains the great what if, a moment of breathtaking brilliance undone by fragility and fate. It stands as both a heartbreak and a tribute to Batistuta's fire, Rui Costa's artistry, Toldo's heroics, and a city that dared to dream. They may not have lifted the title, but they gave fans of Serie A and the city of Florence something greater. A story that still echoes through the city today. The season when the dream burnt brightest. If you like underdog stories and football with a soul, hit like and subscribe. What are your memories of this great Fiorentina side? Let us know in the comments below. And in the meantime, stay tuned for more football history. One incredible story at a time.